If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 9 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 12th, 2025. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. All right, the analysis that God was pointing to August 1st was 100% correct. However, Paul Simon did not die on August 1st. Instead, God provided clear and relevant signs related to Paul Simon, which revealed adding 11 more days, including the sale of the storied mansion in Los Angeles for $110 million. 110 hints at the number 11, and Paul Simon is associated with mansion symbolism in God's signs, primarily because, for example, his biggest solo album is Graceland, and the song Graceland is about him traveling to Elvis Presley's mansion. 11 days after August 1st, which was again known since November of 2024, will be August 12th, the date it is predicted now that Paul Simon will die. And so, in other words, if you are reasonable, it is clear that essentially I predicted Paul Simon's death back on November 9th, 2024. Yes, it wasn't August 1st, but like I just said or explained, and it'll be explained much more in detail in other videos, 11 days was revealed through the prophetic signs on August 1st, which gets us to August 12th. And so in other words, again, back in November 9th, 2024, I predicted that Paul Simon would die on August 12th. If you have the eyes to see that. It's really quite simple and clear. I predicted August 1st, but again, it revealed 11 days to August 12th. And so essentially, back on November 9th, I predicted that Paul Simon would die on August 12th. A dirty bomb is a conventional explosive that uses radioactive material. I am predicting that 3 dirty bombs will explode in New York City, in Times Square, Penn Station, and Grand Central Station. There will then be a massive evacuation from Manhattan Island. I am predicting that these 3 dirty bombs will explode on either August 30th or September 4th. I am also predicting that a dirty bomb will explode in the port of Los Angeles on September 4th. I am predicting that Tehran, Iran, will be nuked by the US or possibly Israel on September 7th, 2025. This will obviously be in response to the dirty bombs that are predicted to explode in New York City. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance, on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the 5th trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029, and it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the East Coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 12th. And the date that this video is posted on the social media platform that you are watching this on proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does this timestamp email here. As we can see here, this email was written on August 8th. All right, and if you are skeptical for some strange reason, let me know and I'll forward it to you. And so this video is the subject of this video are the prophetic signs that occurred on this date, August 8th. The death of Paul Simon will point to Revelation chapter 8. And this has been known since at least November of 2024. Because on November 9th, 2024, it was realized that God was pointing to August 1st, 2025, the date 8-1. That's because Revelation 8:1 in the Bible mentions a period of silence in heaven that is observed, and Simon's first big hit that launched his career was Sound of Silence. And the Sound of Silence in heaven is a warning before the 7 trumpet judgments. Paul Simon, his new album is 7 Psalms, and he has a hit late in the evening, which the name itself hints at the time running out for judgment and destruction. And that song is known for its heavy use of trumpets. And so, let's get into what God did on this date 8-8. So prior to August 8, the date 8-8, it was fully recognized that God was pointing to this date regarding Paul Simon. So on this date, in other words, prior to the date, we expected that on this date, there would be prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And that's exactly what we received. And they are profound, and like what was expected, these signs revealed adding 4 days to get August 12th, the date it's predicted that Paul Simon will die. So prior to August 8th, it was known that God was pointing to August 8th regarding Paul Simon. Simon is considered to be one of the GOATs, greatest of all time, of American music. Simon is considered one of the greatest songwriters of all time, and, quote, popular music's premier poet of the human condition, unquote. The GOAT, greatest of all time, of songwriting, has won 8 plus 8 Grammy Awards. On the date 8-8, we received a GOAT, greatest of all time, prophetic sign. In terms of people God is using in his signs, Paul Simon is one of the most important figures in music. Likewise, Tom Brady is the most important figure from the sports world that God is using for prophetic signs. Both men are considered to be GOATs, greatest of all time. As well, both men symbolize America. An example of how Simon symbolizes America are his hits America and American Tune, whereas Tom Brady played for the New England Patriots. New England is the location of the spiritual founding of America. The name Patriots comes from the men who fought for America's independence and its political foundations. This is why the New England Patriots are the most important team in God's prophetic signs. But that was the case when Tom Brady was the quarterback for this team. And again, it's because of this team symbolizing America, and therefore making the prophetic signs involving the New England Patriots for America. On 8-8, a statue for Tom Brady was unveiled in a ceremony outside the stadium for the New England Patriots. Okay, this is the sign we expected on 8-8, this GOAT sign. Okay, a statue for Tom Brady was unveiled in a ceremony outside the stadium for the New England Patriots. The statue of Brady is 12 feet tall because Brady wore jersey number 12 for his entire career. His career began 12 days after 9/11 in 2001, when jets crashed into the towers in New York. His first game in the NFL was the result of a New York Jet linebacker's hit into the side, as in the planes that struck the side of the towers, the Jets, I should say, in New York, hit the side of the Patriots quarterback number 11. On 9/11, Flight 11, with a crew of 11 people, flew into the Twin Towers that looked like a giant 11 in the 11th state. The story of how the statue unveiling was how Brady's speech was a comedy routine. That was one of the main aspects of this news story, how Brady turned his speech into a comedy routine. Brady made a joke about New York Jets fans throwing beer cups at the statue, which hinted at the Jets that crashed, as in beer cups thrown at the statue, into the towers. The towers would be the tall statue would symbolize the towers in the sign. Beer cups throwing at it, crashing into the statue, would symbolize the Jets crashing into it. And again, Brady's speaking of New York Jets fans doing this. This is an amazing thing because of how Brady's career began, with a New York Jet that crashed into the side of the player number 11, and then Tom Brady came into the game as the backup quarterback, and then the rest is history. By the way, the player who got hit almost died from internal bleeding, and his name is Bledsoe. Anyway, so the joke that Brady made hinted at the Jets crashing into the towers in New York, which crashed into the towers in New York 12 days before player number 12 played in his first game. Through this unveiling of the 12-foot statue, and by the way, that's the story of Brady, right? That's the beginning of his career. The story of Brady is how he was never supposed to be a starting quarterback, and therefore he was never supposed to be the GOAT of football, the greatest of all time. He had a humble beginning. He almost wasn't drafted. He was drafted second last in the draft, 199th. And I believe that's probably also hinting at 9/11. But anyway, the beginning of his career clearly hints at points to 9/11. In other words, Brady and the New England Patriots are more of the continuation, if you will, of the warning of judgment on 9/11. Because again, Brady and the Patriots symbolize America. Now, through the unveiling of the 12-foot statue of the GOAT of football, God confirmed that the death of the GOAT of American popular music songwriting will be on the 12th of the month. Okay? Player number 12's 12-foot statue is hinting at the 12th of the month for the death of the other GOAT. These two GOATs in American culture, sports and music. The name Tom Brady has 8 letters. Tom Brady's name and his jersey number hint at the date 8/12, which is the date of the predicted death of another GOAT, Paul Simon. The predicted death of Paul Simon, the GOAT of popular music songwriting, will be 4 days after the unveiling of the statue of the GOAT of football. At the ceremony, behind the statue and speech podium, were 4 columns of pyrotechnic fire, including its base, the statue is 17 feet tall. This height is in commemoration of the 17 AFC East division titles, the Patriots won with Brady as the quarterback. There are 4 teams in the AFC East division. 17 titles also hints at the number 4 because 17 is the 4th super prime number. The word GOAT is 4 letters, which confirms that it will be 4 days between the unveiling of the statue for the GOAT of football and the predicted death of the GOAT of popular music songwriting. By the way, another thing that I forgot to mention in this video, or in the email, the base is 5 feet tall, and this sign, which was a Tom Brady sign, was 5 days after another Tom Brady sign on his birthday, which I explained in another video. But incidentally, that sign involved 4 because the sign was his comments regarding the viral comments of Scottie Scheffler, the golfer, who had just won his 4th major tournament by 4 strokes over the next player, and it was his 4th win of the season. Anyway, the sculptor of the statue is from Vermont, which is one of 6 states in New England. The New England Patriots play in the 6th state. Brady's speech at the unveiling of the statue was 6 minutes long. And it's uncanny that the news stories mentioned this in the article. And so it's because of this. It's hinting at 666. 6 states in New England. It's the New England Patriots. It's in Massachusetts, the 6th state, this ceremony. And Brady's speech was 6 minutes long. Brady also won 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. The GOAT, Antichrist's number, is 666. The Antichrist resides in Washington and will rule from Washington as the president. And so that's symbolism contained in the quarterback, the leader of the football team, as well as the team owner, Robert Kraft, who is always a big part of this story regarding the New England Patriots and especially the honoring of Tom Brady, because he is this famous owner, and he has a relationship with Tom Brady, etc. And and he's the team owner, which would be also symbolism for a president, right? But they played the Washington team right after the unveiling of the statue. The unveiling of the statue took place 90 minutes before the preseason opener against the team from Washington. Commanders is the name of the team, which hints at president. And the number 9 is the most important number in God's signs. It's from the Bible. It symbolizes God's judgment. And so we have this sign involving America because it's Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. And we have a 9 here. And it's also hinting at the judgment, which will be the Antichrist, because of the 666 here too, who will reside in Washington. And the winner of 4 times 4 Grammy Awards, Paul Simon, is predicted to die 4 days after the GOAT, and GOAT has 4 letters, a football sign. Simon is associated with the number 4 in his signs. I've explained that many other times. His bridge over troubled water is symbolic of the same symbolism as a door, which is what's opened when the demons cross over the bridge through the door from the bottomless pit into the earthly realm. Also, through Paul Simon, God is pointing to the first verses of the book of Amos, in which there is a Hebrew idiom that is repeated, which is for 3 transgressions and for 4. And that idiom means the tolerable limit of transgressions and sin has been exceeded, and now judgment and destruction is unavoidable. Tom Brady and Paul Simon and Garfunkel's first album was Wednesday morning, 3 a.m., and Wednesday is the 4th day of the week, and that's 3 and 4, as in for 3 transgressions and for 4. Anyway, Tom Brady is known for having won the Super Bowl in 3 of his first 4 seasons, right? And then he didn't win the Super Bowl for a while after that. And then he got the really prophetic signs late in his career. But his career began with winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 seasons. God is using Paul Simon to point to the Hebrew idiom in the book of Amos for 3 transgressions and for 4. So that's another parallel between Simon and Brady, which confirms everything, because the case is being made that this is a Paul Simon sign because he is a GOAT, just like Paul Simon. Tom Brady is a GOAT also. But now we have another way in which the 2 men connect. It's because of the album, his first album, Wednesday morning, 3 a.m., and this is a first as well, because Brady's career started as in first album kind of thing. And he won 3 of 4 Super Bowls. And again, this is for pointing to for 3 transgressions and for 4, the Hebrew idiom that I just explained. The first of the 2 GOAT antichrists who will enforce the mark of the Antichrist will be the 266th Pope, who will be resurrected, Pope Francis, in 2029. The unveiling of the GOAT statue was the 266th prime number of days. I believe it's 1,699 days, but it's the 266th prime number of days after the first American took the mark of the Antichrist on December 14th, 2020. And that's relevant because, well, the Antichrist will enforce the mark of the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is the 266th Pope, and he is a GOAT Antichrist, and so that's why we have this connection here. Also on 8/8 was a shooting at the university next to the CDC headquarters in Atlanta. In general, in God's signs, mass shootings are symbolic of the things. Things that come out of guns and go into people are symbolic of the mark of the Antichrist that comes out of things and go into people. And you know what I'm talking about. The thing you can't talk about. But that's why this shooting on the date 8/8. And 8, well, other videos explain how Paul Simon connects with the mark of the Antichrist. I'll just leave it at that. Well, I'll also add that his final concert, which was just 2 days before this August 8th date, was in Seattle. And God is using Seattle because of the Space Needle, which is symbolic of transhumanism technology and things, which is what the mark of the Antichrist is. This begins with an MR and also then ends with an NA thing, right? Now, we have another amazing sign here. Paul Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8. This is why the Lord used signs on 8/8 that related to Paul Simon. 8/8 is 4 days before it is predicted that Simon will die on 8/12. Simon's fourth solo album, and since departing with Simon and Garfunkel, and the final album with Columbia Records that fulfilled his contract with the label was Greatest Hits, etc. The album contained 2 new songs, one of which was Simon's hit, Slip Slidin' Away. This is why 4 days before Simon's death, we received a prophetic sign involving a water slide. But again, Slip Slidin' Away comes from the 4th solo album, the final of 4 albums with Columbia Records. Okay, so that is why it's revealing adding the 4 days from this water slide sign that occurred on the date 8/8, which I'll now explain. Revelation chapter 8, verses 8 through 9, regards the second trumpet and ships at sea that are destroyed. Revelation 8:8, and then also 9, the second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The ships at sea that are destroyed symbolize America. This is because Isaiah chapter 23 is about Great Britain and America. There is a lot of evidence that confirms that in Isaiah chapter 23, Tarshish and the daughter of Tarshish, quote unquote, refer to Great Britain and America, America being the daughter of Great Britain, and Great Britain being Tarshish. There's a lot of evidence for that. Likewise, the mention of, and the name Tarshish would have been in the ancient Middle East area, and that's where that word would have come from. They would have called the island of Great Britain back then, in that area of the world, Tarshish. Likewise, the mention of Tyre in Isaiah chapter 23 is also symbolic of Great Britain and America. The ancient city of Tyre was located on an island, and it relied on the sea for protection from enemies, which is why it was such a successful ancient city. Likewise, Great Britain and America were blessed and successful because of the seas that they had for protection from enemies. Isaiah 23 is a prophecy about America, and it mentions ships. This is because Great Britain's success and global empire were a result of its naval power and trading ships. Isaiah 23:1, quote, "Wail, O ships of Tarshish, for Tyre is laid waste, without house or harbor," unquote. That's the first verse of Isaiah chapter 23. It talks about ships and Tarshish, okay? And again, Tarshish is Great Britain, and its success was due to its ships. And that was because it was an island. That's what led to the ships in the first place. Okay. So again, ships symbolize America in Revelation chapter 8, and that's proven because of Isaiah chapter 23. And that's incidentally why God has provided these amazing, profound signs that are about America on the date 8/23, including, for example, the Washington, D.C. earthquake on 8/23 in 2011. But anyway, let's move on. The date 8/8 hints at Revelation 8:8 through 9, and this passage mentions ships that are destroyed. God pointed to 8:8 in regards to Paul Simon, and Simon had a hit, slip sliding away. This is why on 8/8, news broke about how a glass panel of a water slide on the world's largest cruise ship shattered, injuring one person who was slip sliding on the water slide. God uses records and extremes for signs, and this is why this ship is the largest cruise ship in the world. In other words, it confirms that it is a prophetic sign simply because it is the largest ship, because that's how God's signs works. Largest cruise ship. Paul Simon is predicted to die 4 days after this prophetic sign involving a slip, slide, and away water slide on a ship. The word ship is 4 letters. The word slip is 4 letters. The name of the cruise ship is Icon of the Seas. The word icon is 4 letters, and the word seas is 4 letters. The song Slip, Slide, and Away is from Simon's 4th and last album with Columbia Records. Christopher Columbus sailed to the New World on ships. Columbia symbolizes America. And again, these signs here on 8/8 with the ship is 4 days before Simon's predicted death, and he wrote and sang Slip, Slide, and Away. This cruise ship sign on the Atlantic Ocean occurred on the date 8/8, 2 years, 2 months, and 22 days after the release of the new 3D images of the Titanic on May 17th, 2023. 8 equals 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is what is hinted at with 2 years, 2 months, and 22 days. To get to the date 8/8, which again is about Revelation 8:8. This connection hints at Revelation 8:8 and the mention of destroyed ships, which was the Titanic. It was a destroyed ship. And arguably, the damage done to the water slide is symbolic of a destroyed ship. Okay? And of course, the Titanic was on the Atlantic Ocean, as was this cruise ship sign. The cruise ship water slide sign on 8/8 was 2 months and 22 days after the Mexican warship crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge on May 17th, 2025. Okay, so 2 months and 22 days. Number 22 symbolizes the mark of the Antichrist in God's signs, and God uses these words with X in them, and especially in the middle of the word, like Mexico and Texas, because the letter X is also symbolic of the mark of the Antichrist. The Brooklyn Bridge is also symbolic of that, because BB, the second letter of the alphabet B, gives us a 22, Brooklyn Bridge. Bridge is also symbolism for Paul Simon, because of his big hit Bridge Over Troubled Water, and the reason for that, and why it's prophetic, is because of one of the trumpet judgments that follows the sound of silence in heaven, and that trumpet judgment that I'm referring to speaks of the demons crossing the bridge from the demonic realm into the earthly realm. 8 equals 2 times 2 times 2, hence the 2 months and 22 days, to the date 8/8, from the other ship sign, the Mexican ship that crashed into the bridge. May 17th, 2025, the date of the ship that crashed into the bridge, was exactly 2 years after the release of the 3D images of the Titanic. 2 months and 22 days is also 83 days, and 83 is the 23rd prime number, which hints at Isaiah 23, and also Paul Simon's predicted to die at 83, at his age, 83. The Scott Francis Key Bridge that was wrecked when the trading ship collided with it on March 26, 2024, was 314 days to May 17th, the Titanic signs ship date, and that's just hinting at pi. I can't really verify this with a second witness, so it might not be relevant, but definitely pi in general is relevant. It's God's mysterious transcendental number that he's baked into his creation, if you will. But if I thought about it more, probably there's some kind of connection with the number 314 here. But Scott Francis Key Bridge collision with the trading ship was also 500 days before this date 88, the goat signs on this day. And the 500th word in the Greek concordance is the word for Antichrist, as in the goat antichrists. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, "Jesus loves you," unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.